We begin tonight with mass common wisdom beltway hysteria, the Tuesday night massacre, the 2010 bloodbath, Democratic politicians dropping like flies. You saw these headlines today, right? Today, Senator Chris Dodd of Connecticut joined Senator Byron Dorgan of North Dakota and Governor Bill Ritter of Colorado in announcing that he would not run for re-election after this term. What followed was the kind of exclamation point, all caps, out of breath, journalistic hyperventilation that often follows three similar news stories breaking at the same time. Dorgan's retiring, Dodd's retiring, Ritter's retiring. Ergo, the Democratic Party must be folding. It's over. While it is very exciting to have these three retirements announced at once, and it is very exciting to portend horrible things for the president's political party, it should reasonably be noted that Chris Dodd dropping out in Connecticut actually makes it more likely that Democrats will hold on to that seat rather than less. Democratic Attorney General Richard Blumenthal jumped into that race today, and he's polling way ahead, as in 30 points ahead of potential Republican rivals. So despite all the doom for Democrats headlines today, in the case of Chris Dodd, his retirement is probably a political advantage for Democrats. On the Byron Dorgan retirement in North Dakota, Dorgan's re-election was considered probable, but no sure thing. Senator Dorgan dropping out does make it harder for Democrats to imagine holding on to that seat. So in the case of the Byron Dorgan retirement, it's true, advantage Republicans. In Colorado, Democratic Governor Bill Ritter was also facing a tough re-election fight. Him bowing out means Republicans certainly do have a shot there, but it also opens the door for a stronger Democratic candidate for Colorado governor. Democrats have a deep bench with lots of good candidates in that state, any one of whom might have a better chance of keeping that seat Democratic than the incumbent governor. So in Colorado, the political advantage here is kind of a push. Could go either way. So that gives us, in the big picture, advantage Democrats, advantage Republicans, and a push. Wow, what a massacre. The Beltway Common Wisdom reaction to today's retirements on the Democratic side was very, very, very exciting. But that doesn't mean that it made any factual sense. In the big picture, today's announcements make a grand total of 2 Senate Democrats retiring at the end of their terms. Compare that to 6 Republican incumbent senators not seeking re-election. In the House, it's 10 Democrats stepping down and 14 Republicans. Among governors who could run again, it's 3 Democrats retiring versus 4 Republicans, 5 if you include Sarah Palin, who already quit. Big picture, who is retiring a year before a midterm election is of rather dubious value in predicting the outcome of that election. But even if you are sold on this particular thing as an important predictor, frankly, factually speaking, things look better for Democrats than they do for Republicans. I mean, if we're going to get really, really excited and chase our tails about things happening in threes, consider the Republican Party's last 48 hours. In Florida, the chairman of the Republican Party resigned in dramatic fashion yesterday, the result of a schism among Florida Republicans over the Senate race there. On one side of the chasm is moderate and popular Governor Charlie Crist. On the other is the conservative Tea Party favorite Marco Rubio. Upon resigning yesterday, the outgoing party chair minced no words about what he thinks the Tea Party schism is doing to the Republican Party. He said, quote, "A small but vocal group within our party has made it a point to destroy our progress and negatively impact our opportunity for victory in 2010. While some are more interested in tearing and shredding the fabric of the Republican Party to pieces, I will not be a participant in this destructive behavior." Perhaps hoping to contain that fire to the Sunshine State, Republican Party Chairman Michael Steele has been attempting to play peacemaker in this burgeoning civil war, extending yet another olive branch to the Tea Partiers this morning on Fox News.
The Tea Party movement is a revelatory moment for us. It really puts in stark relief where the American people are, how they feel, and what they feel. And I think it's important for our party to appreciate and understand this so that we can move towards it, embrace it, and then move into the future.
Yeah, Tea Partiers, we're all pulling in the same direction. Except that they're really not, and the Tea Partiers want that to be known. The Washington Times reporting today on the founder of TeaParty.org threatening Michael Steele and the Republican Party, saying, quote, "We are turning our guns on anyone who doesn't support constitutional conservative candidates. It's not going to be good for them. If they don't get that and their party chairman don't get that, they are going to be ostracized." It should be noted that the guy making that threat, the head of TeaParty.org, one of the founders of the Tea Party movement, is this guy, Dale Robertson. Take that in for a second. Yes, that is the N-word. And yes, it's misspelled. You know, it's usually an ad hominem attack when you call somebody an illiterate racist. But in this case, when the guy is both using and misspelling the N-word, I think it's fair to say, just descriptively, without comment, you, sir, are an illiterate racist. You are also the founder of TeaParty.org. So we have the Florida Republican Party factionalizing. We have the illiterate racist-led TeaParty.org declaring war on the Republican Party. And then there's poor Republican Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, whose daily schedule now consists of waking up, eating breakfast, and then getting censured by his own state party. After already getting censured by the Charleston County Republican Party back in November, Mr. Graham has now been censured officially by the Lexington County Republican Party this week. They voted to censure Mr. Graham for his work on cap-and-trade legislation. The official resolution reads in part, U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham has repeatedly demonstrated contempt and belligerence toward those members of the Republican Party who support freedom, a constitutional government, and the Republican Party platform. For his part, Lindsey Graham is not taking this censure sitting down. He knows who's responsible, saying, quote, you have these Ron Paul guys show up and try to take over the party. They are not reflective of the Republican Party. And I hope this serves as a wake-up call to Republicans that they need to get involved. Mr. Graham there referring to the author of the censure resolution against him in Lexington County, a man named Talbert Black, who is the interim South Carolina state director for Ron Paul's Campaign for Liberty. Joining us now is Republican Congressman Ron Paul of Texas. Congressman Paul, thanks very much for coming back on the show. It's nice to see you.
Thank you, Rachel. Nice to be with you.
I have to ask your reaction to Senator Lindsey Graham saying Ron Paul guys, he said, are not reflective of the Republican Party. What do you think?
Well, in a way, that might be good. You know, the Republican Party isn't exactly the top party in the country right now. But I think Lindsey is giving me way too much credit. But if he wants to give me a lot of credit that I now control the Republican Party of South Carolina, I consider that rather amazing. But no, and I don't think you can talk about the Tea Party as a party. It's made up of a lot of different people, and I don't even see them as being Republicans. I think they're unhappy. They're unhappy with the establishment party, and that's made up of the Republicans and the Democrats. I mean, think of the factions in the Democratic Party. You know, the base of the Democratic Party that would have liked to seen a change in foreign policy and less war and not expanding war in Afghanistan, they're disgruntled. Some anti-war people do come to some of the Tea Parties, at least the Tea Party types that I have. And, you know, the original Tea Party was held in the campaign, and we had a lot of anti-war people there. So in many ways, the people are speaking out. They're very, very angry and upset. And they're upset with the establishment. They're upset with the Republicans and the Democrats. But I think this is a natural consequence of the insolvency of the country. That's really the basic problem. The politicians are used to promising and just passing out favors, taking care of the military-industrial complex or any domestic need at home and not have to live up to the responsibility of paying for it. And it's coming to an end. So we're facing a bankruptcy, and that's why I think you're seeing this anger and hostility and this fighting and bickering. But I do not think the real fight is between Republicans and Democrats. I see the establishment Republican and establishment Democrat as being one because the foreign policies don't differ and the monetary policy doesn't differ. And Republicans, you put them in office to balance the budget and promote personal liberty. They don't do any of that. You put the Democrats in to protect civil liberties and wine dine the war and not have any secret rendition. Things don't change, and the American people are just catching on.
Congressman Paul, I think that you're right that there is a bit of an insurgency happening on both sides, but it seems to be manifesting differently in the two parties. The base seems unhappy, and a lot of people unaffiliated with either party seem unhappy with both parties right now. But on the Republican side, that's translating into censures at the county party level for sitting senators. It's translating into primary fights in places like Florida, upstate New York, and other places. As somebody who's run for president both as a libertarian and as a Republican, do you think the fights within the right now are a danger to the Republican Party's future strength, or do you think it's going to ultimately make the Republican Party stronger?
It all depends. I think in some areas with the right candidates it will help. But quite frankly, I don't think about the strength of parties. I don't worry about the strength or the weakness of the Democratic Party. I don't think about the strength or the weakness of the Republican Party. All I think about is trying to get people to accept certain ideas, and these ideas should permeate both parties. You know, we had a Keynesian revolution in economics, and everybody's a Keynesian. We had Woodrow Wilson make the world safe for democracy. He was the first neocon. We've been living with that. So that's the only thing that counts. This fighting, I'm sorry I can't enter into this really fight, the partisan fights, but really the fight is more philosophic, and I think this is a distraction. Sometimes I think it's deliberate.